The images coming out of California are absolutely devastating to see. It's been absolutely destroyed by several fires, and it's hard to believe that these all just randomly started naturally, we'll say. A lot of us think this is possibly arson, but of course, we're not going to hear from any elected officials right now. They're just doing their photo ops at the moment. Joining me now to discuss is the great host of the Joe Pags Show, Joe Pags, joining me today. Thank you, sir, for
Breanna,
jumping
good to
on. I
be
know you're a
here.
very busy man. Thank
I'm,
you.
I,
Yeah.
I always make time for you. What's happening?
That's why you're the best. We're talking California wildfires, or I should just say fires at this point, because we don't know if these are just naturally coming about or if they are arson. I mean, California does have a history of arson, and these fires do quickly spread due to the fact that government officials, their elected officials, fail to uphold or just to maintain, I should say, the forests. And so here we are watching these fires spread rapidly. Yesterday, everyone on X was talking about how this little fire that started in Hollywood was quickly spreading. And Joe, I get it. There's a lot of wind going on right now, but it's hard to believe that this is naturally taking place, that this is just an act of Mother Nature. What are you making of all of this?
We don't know if it's nefarious or not. If it is, I hope that somebody pays the full penalty of the law and is behind bars for a long time. I would hate to think that somebody's so disgusting that they would start the fires. But let's go by what we actually know. And you and I, do our living as speaking the truth and speaking fact and being journalists. We know that they have wildfires in that part of California all the time. We know that. We know that 6 years ago, then President Trump said from the White House, you've got to do something to clean up the brush. You've got to do something to hydrate that area. We have to do something to stop this from happening. It's not okay. And 6 years ago, he was talking about billions of dollars in damage then, and nothing was done. He called out Gavin Newsom then. Just a few months ago on Joe Rogan's podcast, Trump sat there and said, they've got plenty of water. They can have all the water they need, but they're diverting it to the Pacific Ocean to save some fish or a salamander or something stupid. And here you've got brittle brush, trees that should not be there, brush and leaves that have been there for years that are going to ignite and take out entire neighborhoods. It happened again. It was like he was prescient. Something has to happen. And God knows you need somebody who's in charge better than Gavin Newsom. And I would say that Karen Bass is in charge of LA, but she's not. She was busy in Ghana, yes, in Africa, studying or attending some inauguration of somebody you and I didn't know was elected. So I'm not sure what's going on, whether this was set on purpose. If it was, it's disgusting. They should pay the full penalty of law and spend the rest of their lives behind bars. But we know that this happens there. And at some point, the people of California and Los Angeles in that area have to be smarter about who they choose to lead that area, because this is nobody's fault but their leaders. This could have been averted. It could have been a small fire and it could have been taken care of very quickly, but it's not going to happen if they don't make some change.
Yeah, and Joe, this is the problem with all of this because Democrats in general seem to fail their way up. So, although I know a lot of people on social media are calling for Gavin Newsom to resign, the odds of him resigning are pretty slim these days because he knows if he just rides this storm out, that Democrats will have his back and likely promote him internally within the party. And so, why back down now? And the point I think that's so disturbing in all of this, firemen are trying their hardest to fight back on these fires. But unfortunately, as they go to the fire hydrants, there's no water coming out.
Right.
And it's insane to think that this is happening. But live on television, there was a news anchor who was reporting about this. And then they were saying, oh, no, well, we're not hearing that there's no water coming out of the fire hydrants. And then one of the reporters in the field quickly fact checked that. Let's take a listen. And then I want to get your reaction on the other side.
No firefighters have told us that they are running out of water.
And let's go out to Gigi Graciette. She is live in Pacific Palisades. I know your signal's not the best, but Gigi, what can you tell us?
Well, firefighters have told me they have no water on this block.
I mean, it's that simple and it's that crazy that the water reserves weren't built up in time for all of this. They usually have this planned out. They're supposed to have this all planned out. And like you just mentioned, for some reason, the local government hasn't been doing its job. Joe, what do you make of this? We're all laughing at the news fact checking in live time type of situation, but he might have not known. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But what do you make of these fire hydrants just completely running out of water?
Well, I'm not as nice as you. I was a news director. I was a TV news anchor. You and I have been in news for a long time. That guy was covering for what was going on in that area. Now, you're probably right. He didn't hear directly from somebody who said we ran out of water. He's got a reporter there on the scene
Mhm.
that I'm sure was filling in the producers, filling in the people who were the managing editors and everybody else, that there's no water here. And we've been reporting nationally that they were out of water in many fire hydrants. So I believe that person is complicit, just like the complicit legacy media, in spreading mis or disinformation to cover for their buddies. He probably likes Karen Bass. I don't know that to be a fact, but could be. He probably likes Gavin Newsom. I'm glad that the Gigi, whoever she is out in the field, said they are out of water. They have no water here. And I want to allude back to what I said earlier. Trump made it clear just a few months ago on Rogan. There is plenty of water that comes downstream from the melting snow in Canada that goes all the way through the west coast of the United States. There is plenty of water, but because of some fish or some tribal something, they're diverting the water to the Pacific. And then they're doing it, then they're pretending like they've got drought situation there. It's not a drought. They've got plenty of water that they're not utilizing because they want to say, hey, look how great we are for the environment. We're saving some, fin breathing, some sort of gill, little tiny, I don't know what the fish is. Breanna, I don't know what the fish is. They're saving some stupid fish that some tribe there said you've got to save. And in turn, you've lost 360,000 people without power. You've got at least 5 people dead. And you've got thousands and thousands of homes that are just gone. Entire neighborhoods overnight are gone, and they feel good about their move with the salamander or whatever the hell it is. Look, at the end of the day, these are not leaders. These are people, as you
Yeah.
said very correctly, they have somehow failed their way up. Karen Bass was a racist when she was a representative in Congress. She's a horrible person now. Gavin Newsom was out campaigning in Alabama in front of some church that he thought that Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at or something, campaigning for presidency for some future race, I guess. It wasn't going to be this year, instead of focusing on the needs of California. That's why people are flooding, they're flocking for the border to leave California. They can't trust their leadership because there is no leadership. It makes me sick. But I do want to go back to where you started. That anchor, whether he knew or didn't know if there was water, should have said, there are reports there is no water, although we have not heard that directly from the fire department. He didn't say that.
Mhm.
He seemed to try to dismiss it by alleging that we haven't heard that from anybody, as if it's not happening. And his own reporter had to check him live on the air, and I'm glad she did.
Yeah, and it's so obvious at this point. I mean, there's all these videos coming about of the fire department having to get water from their own truck, putting it in women's bags and tossing it over the fire,
It's sick.
hoping that would help. It's sick to even see that happening and taking place. But again, I mean, Joe, the failures are endless, and this is also important to address. You know, the LA City Council appointed their first female lesbian fire chief, and then also there's the assistant chief who's also a female lesbian, as well as the training commander. Now, Joe, I know more about their sex life than we actually should really know. And I'm going to be direct. I get so angry that we have to sit here and talk about what their sexual preferences are rather than their actual job requirements. And these three have been doing interviews in local news for over 2 years now, talking about their preference. And it's disturbing that this is the qualification that lands them these jobs. Do you think that plays a role in what we're seeing unravel here today? That LA is just not prepared to fight back these fires?
Yes, because you and I can talk about who we know they like to sleep with, but I can't tell you what their qualifications for the job are. Can you?
Nope. I have no
We have,
idea.
we have no, Brianna, we have no clue. This is, look, we've hit critical mass nationally. That's why we had this mandate in the election. The Senate, the House, the presidency, the Supreme Court are all leaning right. They're all conservative because Americans are sick and tired of this. DEI is on the way out. Nobody told these people in LA clearly. It's on the way out. This whole idea that the biggest terrorist threat in the country is white supremacy, that's on the way out. It's not true, as you've got people that are radicalized in the military running people over New Orleans. The fact that you've got 3 people in charge of the Los Angeles Fire Department that you and I can't tell, and we do this for a living. We do information for a living. We can't tell anybody watching or listening what their qualifications are. That's nuts. That's absolutely
Yeah.
insane. Yet you and I both know who they like to sleep with. Help me out with that because I can't figure it out.
I can't figure it out either, and I wish they'd stop surrendering that information. To be honest, too, Joe, if they were heterosexual men and they were so open about their sexual preferences and how they want to hire more men who have that same sexual preference, there would be a lawsuit filed against LA County for just that, or for the city, I should say. So to hear this continuing on and continuing to push this narrative is really upsetting to me, but it's not surprising. This is what they do. This is why we had the great work of people like Robbie Starbuck, who's out there every
Yeah.
day forcing these corporations to end these DEI hiring practices because it needs to end. It's got our country in probably the lowest place we've ever been, and it's time that we all call it out. And I'm so thrilled that we're doing just that. Joe, before you go, I wanted to get your take on this because we saw, and this was at Jimmy Carter's funeral on Thursday. We saw Barack Obama and President Trump having a good old laugh. Obama's laughing. We don't really know 100% what Donald Trump was saying to him, but according to New York Post, it had something to do with we need to talk later because it's important. What do you make of this? Because Barack Obama, he doesn't seem to, and by the way, Michelle's not by his side, according to reports. She didn't want to be sitting next to President Trump.
Well, listen, Trump is Hitler. He's a fascist. He's horrible, orange man bad. He's trying to take over and never leave office. He wants to be a monarch. And Barack Obama just was thrilled to sit there and joke it up at Jimmy Carter's funeral. I don't understand. These people, listen, here's what I got out of that. I don't know if the lip readers are right. We've got to talk something important. Maybe they're talking about their golf game. I have no idea. But here's what I do know, that the legacy media has been so exposed by their disgusting coverage of President Trump over the past 4 years, so exposed that the people that were allegedly on their side, one by one, Jill Biden, Barack Obama, as they get anywhere near this guy, they are thrilled by it, and they're acting like school children. I hope that the one takeaway we get, and I don't know what they were saying to each other, hopefully we'll find out, but I hope the one takeaway we get from that and other instances when you had Trump meeting with world leaders at Mar-a-Lago, all of them, kneeling at his toes. I hope that the people watching and listening to you will realize that you're real news, that the legacy media is on the way out. The legacy media doesn't even realize how over and how dumb they are. Put a fork in me. I don't know. I want to go back to the fire for a second. Did you see David Muir from ABC? Did you see the
Yes, I
outfit he was
did.
wearing? For those who didn't see it,
Yes.
now, you probably don't have the picture. Maybe you can put it in post. But David
Yeah.
Muir is out there reporting, the guy from the ABC Nightly News, and he's wearing this turnout coat like he's a fireman, but it's very tight and very form fitting. And as he's turning around to show the fire behind, you can see that they were making the jacket tighter with these clothesline clips. I mean, what are we talking about here? Breanna, the guy thought he was a model, that he was on the runway, and he had to look really, really svelte and good and buff as he's reporting about devastation in LA. They are so done, they don't even know they're done. And that thrills me, because when you and I do
Yeah.
news, we do it for real and people can rely on us. You can't rely on them anymore. Again, I don't know what Barack Obama and Donald Trump are talking about, but it exposes the complicit media for who they are for the past 4 years.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse, and I don't think they've realized it yet. I constantly am jumping in on Joy Reid's show on MSNBC, so my audience doesn't have to do so to get some sound bites going. But
Yeah.
the language they use, they are so full of hate and rage, and it's almost as if they're trying to create an enraged base. There's that photo that you were just referring to, the
Right.
clips in the
I
back.
mean, what is that?
I laugh all the time because earlier today, I actually did an interview with Father Calvin Robinson today, and I only had time to do half my hair, not the whole head hair. So I had half of my curls done, and then the rest of it was clipped back. And I joke and said that, yeah, I was doing that too. But I'm not behind a wildfire showing you people losing their homes and trying to
No,
look
no,
cute.
right. I've covered fires. They're devastating. They're horrible. I never once thought to myself, do I look great? Am I making it happen? It's like thank God he turned sideways, because we never would have known. It's like, where did you find a form-fitting turnout coat? Because you and I have covered fires. We've covered firefighters. They're big, loose, protective gear. It's not to make you look good. It's Breanna, I'm telling you, they're done and they don't know it. And I'm glad, because people like you can flourish. I'm glad that they
Thank
don't.
you.
I hope they never realize it.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't sound like they're learning. They're not learning their lesson. I mean, remember when Anderson Cooper was there doing that? I'm not sure what hurricane it was, but when he was intentionally gone to like the deepest part of the flooding, and
Right.
his cameraman is just standing there, relaxed, chilled, nothing
Yeah.
wrong with him. They love the drama, and I get it. As a producer, you do want the quick, punchy sound bites, but we're talking about natural disasters or just disasters in general,
Yes.
and so we're talking about loss of life, people losing their homes. So yeah, have some compassion and stop caring for yourself. But that's what they do, and
Well, what was the
it's not
conversation,
surprising.
though? Did David Muir say, hey, this is too big? Can somebody make me look better? I mean, what's the conversation before you go live nationally on, I guess, the top-rated newscast at 6:30? I mean, what was I can't wear this. I look fat? I mean, what was
Yeah,
it? Because, again, you and I have done this job. We don't
yeah,
care. If I've got soot and smoke and my hair is falling out, doesn't matter as long as I'm covering the story. It's not about
yeah.
me.
Yeah. Well, that's how they all are. And I joke all the time too. My producer Pete, I'm like, Pete, make me look skinny, make me look skinny. So obviously that's probably what happened with his producers. They're like, don't worry, we
I
brought the
guess.
clips for you, David.
That's
Joe
crazy. It
Pags,
is.
it's insane. It really is. Joe, I want to thank you for jumping on with me today. Again, to our audience, you do host a great show, the Joe Pags Show, which is available on Rumble and X, as well as a radio show too. So make sure you head on over there. Your X page is in the description of this video, and so is your Rumble. So give it a follow. Joe Pags, as always, thank you, sir.
Keep up the great work.
I'm not an expert on much, especially when not driving. Don't ever ask me for driving advice or I'll voluntarily tell you. My rims look like they've been chewed up and spit out. But if you're asking me about a good steak, I'm an expert on that. And what a segue this is. Head on over right now to ozarkwagyu.com. They are incredible American Wagyu products delivered to your front door. It's actually a company owned by a family in Missouri, and it's a small local farm. So they're literally delivering local to your front door anywhere in the country. They ship. Their shipping is incredible. I love it. I order regularly from them. It's ozarkwagyu.com. I love their hot dogs. Those are amazing. It's all beef, no mystery meat. They don't use mRNA jabs either. Very key point I want to highlight as well. They have a great sirloin. So many great cuts of meat that you're going to want to try right now. When you head over to ozarkwagyu.com, you get a discount on top of some of those sale prices. Use that promo code BRE. That's promo code BRE to save. You're not going to regret it. I can promise you that much. I sent this over to my producer for Christmas, and he told me it was amazing. So again, folks, it's ozarkwagyu.com. And if you're looking to save extra cash, which we all are these days, make sure you use that promo code BRE. That's promo code BRE. That will lock in some additional savings. And again, there's no mRNA vaccines used on their cattle. Again, folks, ozarkwagyu.com, promo code BRE.